Well,
Katrina,
hi there.
hello. How are you?
Doing great. I'm going to close this pop-up window. Meeting is being recorded. Continue.
Is that good? Is that all right?
Absolutely, of course.
Okay. Good. So wonderful to meet you here on Zoom. I saw your page on Instagram, and that really intrigued me. I didn't know of its existence here in Vienna.
There wasn't anything like Vienna Shakespeare before this. That's
Yeah.
why I decided to make it to begin with. I'm so glad you saw us on Instagram.
Yeah.
I've been very proud of myself finally wading into the world of social media. But there wasn't anything like Vienna Shakespeare because I went looking and there was nothing available in English. There was
Mm.
nothing available for people who wanted to do the actual acting rather than watching it. There just wasn't anything. That's why we're here.
Yeah, but this is great. And what is your background? What is the interest for you in doing this project?
I'm an opera singer and an actress. And
Yes.
for the last 10 years, I've also been an acting teacher, as well as a voice teacher, of course. And I've been doing Shakespeare with my acting students since the beginning in
Mm.
our classes, but they were always excerpts, they were always scenes, they were always something that we were doing to help them find a different approach to their acting technique.
Mm.
And I wanted to be able to do something more in depth. So, as an acting teacher, but also as a performer, it was very clear to me that I wanted more Shakespeare in my life and I wanted my students to have more access to Shakespeare. That's
Mm.
why I'm doing this, because I've loved Shakespeare since I was little and I want people to have more
Really?
availability with it.
What is it about Shakespeare that you would think that you use this in your acting class?
One of the reasons Shakespeare has remained potent for
Mm.
as long as his plays has is because of the way he approaches character. And for any person who's interested in acting or improving their acting skills, or people who are interested in English literature in general, the way the script is for characters is incredibly rich. It's very psychological, but oftentimes the environments they're placed into, aside from the political plays, which are more
Mm.
non-fictional, shall we say, um, they're almost archetypal. As an actor, this is gold because
Really?
you have everything that you need in the script for exploring the psychology of your character, but you have quite a bit of freedom to
Mm.
make absolutely legitimate decisions about the environment you're living in. Because if you take Twelfth Night, for example, our current workshop, it's set in a place which is supposed to be fantastical. It's supposed to be, oh, yes, that's where everything crazy happens. Of course, everything is weird there. So, as an actor, you get to make a lot of decisions about your environment, but your character is on the page.
I see. Wow, that's just interesting. I never realized this about about Shakespeare, and I think it's also because um, the more you know also about the work, probably, and like you say, going in depth, more in depth in it, then you realize all these things. How
Yeah,
wonderful! Yeah,
yeah. The more you dig, the more there is to find.
yeah. And who or how did you discover all these things? Did you study Shakespeare, or do you just have this insight into his work?
I'm very fortunate that I was able to go to an elementary school, middle school, high school, and conservatory, which all focused on not only acting, but Shakespeare within acting.
Mm.
So I was tremendously lucky to do my first production of Shakespeare when I was 7 years old, and then to never stop.
Oh yeah.
And as an opera singer, of course, there's a tremendous amount of mezzo repertoire, with the operas that are Shakespeare. So at the higher level in conservatory, we spent a lot of time working with Shakespeare's text as it was set to opera, which means the interest never stopped being a part of my professional plan.
Oh, that's wow. That's wonderful that you have this opportunity, and yeah, and even in school, because I mean, this is something I talk a lot about, and this is this exposure. And now you're talking about this exposure you had and what an impact it made in your life, and even with the singing, you know. So how important is this that children have these exposures to all forms of art?
There are few things more important than allowing children to explore things that grown-ups often think are intimidating. Because if children are allowed, not forced, but allowed to spend time with fine art in big museums, with Shakespeare, both on the page and in the theaters, with philosophy, with all of the things that as grown-ups we go, oh, that's fancy. Kids don't think it's fancy, they think it's cool. If we leave them alone and let them explore. That's where I think it's the most important, that yes, these things are incredibly important because they're famous and they've survived the tests of time because they have some emotional truth to them. Kids can sense when they're being bullshitted, and they can sense when something is sincere. So let them play with stuff that has proven to be sincere.
Yeah, and I think also children, I think sometimes we think, oh, this is too grown up for children, or this is above them. But I think children, from their reference point, they look at these things from their perspective, from where they are, and I believe the more we expose them to the same things, the more they develop in that, you know. Like in music, they would find something every time in music as they grow up and as they mature, but that has to be there. So yeah, it's, I love it always when people say, when I was 5 years old, this happened and this person came in my life, and this just shows you how important it is that we are aware of the importance of art for children.
I absolutely agree.
So now tell me, so and you are also an opera singer, and you say that this helps, this acting methods, this help you also with your opera singing?
Oh, certainly. Shakespeare and performing in operas, they deepen each other. So, and it's not just opera, it's all music, from heavy metal and rock and roll and pop to jazz, folk, classical leader. It doesn't matter, because when you're performing music, you are dealing with somebody else's script. There's lyrics that you have to sing. The music is written. You can't just change it to be whatever you want. You have to hit all the right points, just like you do with Shakespeare, just like you do as an actor. But it allows you to find a method for being tremendously sincere within somebody else's words. And this brings us to one of the most interesting differences that I find, because I'm an acting teacher at the Vienna Film School. Shakespeare is a different kind of acting and more, I think, musical than is modern acting in terms of the way modern scripts are written, for example, for film. Because in film, a lot of the emotion happens in the silences, where your brain is working, you're coming to a realization, the camera zooms up on your face and it's all about the twitch of the corner of your eye. And then you say something. But in music, it's not that, and neither is it in Shakespeare. The words are the emotion. You say them before you have time to think about them. And my boss and coworker at film school would say, well, it's the same in film, but there is a difference.
Mm.
The words are the emotion rather than the product of your emotion. If you can get that in Shakespeare and in music, then you're going to feel the difference. You're going to feel the access to
Mm.
what you'd like it to be rather than what the page wants it to be.
Mm. Do you think the language in which it is written is sometimes something that is putting people off, that they, that they sometimes don't understand the language and then lose the whole, the whole story or the whole plot?
Oh, that's so controversial. Um, I am very aware that very smart people have told me that Shakespeare translated into German, for example, is just as good, that the German Hamlet is a masterpiece. And they're very smart people, so I must believe them.
Mm.
The problem for me is I'm someone who gets a lot of meaning out of metaphors. And
Mm.
Shakespeare uses so many metaphors and so much imagery and so many double entendres. He makes up words, for heaven's sakes. So the words that Shakespeare wrote have so many layers of connotations and meaning
Mm.
that it's difficult for me to get that from any translation,
Mm.
especially the comedies. The comedies for me really don't work because every second word that Shakespeare's saying is a sex pun. But that also could be because every language other than English is for me a second language where maybe I'm missing those layers of meaning.
Oh, okay. Mm.
So I think that's going to be the issue for everybody. If you
Mm.
have three mother tongues, then maybe the German Hamlet and the English Hamlet will have the same depth for you. But if one of those is your second language, you might just be missing out on
Mm.
the underlayers.
Mm.
I think what's important, though, the real answer to the question, you need to watch Shakespeare or consume art in a way that's going to make you feel comfortable.
Mm.
So whether someone like me says that the German Hamlet isn't as good as the original or not, it doesn't matter to your experience.
Mm.
If you're not comfortable watching something complex in your second language, watch it in German.
Yeah.
No one else's opinion matters.
Yeah. Yeah, because is it then rather to say that because I saw on English television a few years ago that they modernized these plays, they made it relevant so in today's uh, world, um, and it sort of made it a little bit more understandable. But of course, like you say, there's some things that totally get lost because of the vocabulary then.
This is the privilege
Mm.
of any theater work which continues to be produced. If it's produced enough, then somebody's going to mess around with it. That's the privilege of the famous works. And I'm all for it. I might not like the production itself, but I approve of the fact that people are experimenting with it. That's the way theater stays alive.
Mm.
Because if one person does a hyper modern Macbeth set in space, that doesn't mean that somebody else isn't going to do a traditionalist Macbeth.
Yeah.
And we're not in a theater, so I can say it. Scottish play. Yeah.
So you're saying now that you're teaching film students.
That's one of the things I teach. As an actor and opera singer, you always end up doing a myriad of things.
Mm.
So I have a voice studio called Voice Lessons Vienna, where I teach opera students, jazz students, pop students. I have private acting students who come to prepare for a role or prepare for auditions. I work with Vienna Film School for specifically aspiring film actors and current film actors who are brushing up on their English acting skills. That's my specialty.
Okay.
I run an opera workshop for people who they're not comfortable going to the conservatory run workshops where you can't have a full-time job because they take all day. And I have Vienna Shakespeare, which is also for people who have a full-time job, they're going to university, they have family responsibilities. They don't have access to those classes and workshops that are from 9 to 5. Everything that I do, all of these different methods of teaching that I have, everything that I do is aimed towards people. They have a full-time job, they're busy during the day, but they still want to have access to their creative side. So all of my classes, they happen on the weekend, they happen in the evenings. It's for people who just don't have time otherwise.
But that's wonderful. And that's wonderful that you have all these different wonderful things that you do. Yeah, it must be, I mean, it must be great because you tap into everything and meet so many different people, isn't it?
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
I never get bored.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. But now, so Vienna Shakespeare is this is now a group where people can belong to, that you do regular things, or is it now specifically for people, artists, you know, for drama
We are
students?
open registration.
Yeah.
Everything about the scheduling and the registration process, everything is designed to be as accessible and easy as possible.
Mhm.
So as I said, because my target audience is people who have very busy lives,
Yeah.
you can join individual classes, which there's a class beginning at the start of almost every month. You can join that individual class and at the end of the month go, I need to focus on my work for the next 2 months. I'll come back in 3 months. You can stay for the entire year and go through the entire year-long process, which is cumulative. If you begin with us in January and go straight through to December, it will be a cohesive, let's call it a journey.
Okay.
But
yeah.
it's designed for people to be able to pop in for a month, leave because they're too busy, come back in. All of that is just fine.
But is it shaped for people who have a drama background? It's not just for somebody who have an interest in Shakespeare.
We do offer more advanced workshops, and by we, I mean I.
Okay.
We have workshops. Yes, I do run this as a one-man show.
You use the right, you
The
use the right.
background.
Oh.
I'm clearly the royal we. I'll wear that crown. Thank you very much. People who have a theater background have described their experience with our most recent workshop with 12th Night. They've described their experience as bringing them into a deeper understanding of a very specific acting technique. Some of them have been on stage for 10 years. They know what they're doing. They're familiar with Shakespeare. One of them has a degree in English literature, and that's intimidating. But this class is designed because it's bringing these different people together, people who maybe have almost no experience, but they're very enthusiastic about Shakespeare, people who have a tremendous amount of knowledge and they maybe have a degree. It brings them together in the way we're performing these works. And because the entire thing is based off of individual attention, individual feedback, and meeting you where you are as a performer rather than some pre-prescribed thing that I think I have to do. Even professional actors, in all of their comfort with the literature, will have something that needs to be pulled out, that needs to be focused on. And the new performer watching that will go, oh, I see, I get it. And in the more fundamental exploration of acting in general and specifically Shakespeare's works that you might do with someone who's just entering this world, the advanced people will go, God, I haven't heard that in years. Or that's a new way of talking about it that none of my co-actors has ever described.
Mm,
It really does come together very nicely.
mm. Yeah, I think it's a wonderful way that you do it like that, because I think also I spoke to a pianist the other day, and she was telling how she, just by observing the more established artists, learned so much. You know, and this is what you're doing now, is bringing that all together. And we never realized that you know, young, inexperienced artists almost learn by just watching and observing.
Absolutely. There's a wonderful, wonderful interview where Judi Dench is talking about her earliest years where she was first playing Ophelia. And she talks about exactly that. And her face gets soft. It's really quite something to look at. But she talks about her mentor and how basically she went into that theater and just watched and absorbed and tried to let the same energy come out of her. And if it's good enough for Judi Dench, it's good enough for all of us.
Exactly. You said it
Yeah.
the right way, yeah. Well, I think, well, just your personality. I mean, you connected with Shakespeare. I mean, it's just wonderful, yeah.
I certainly love it.
Where did you grow up?
Minneapolis, in
Oh,
Minnesota, over in the USA. And we're a big theater city, which was very
oh,
helpful for me
yeah.
growing up.
And what brought you to Vienna?
Opera. When I was in conservatory, there was a choice between Vienna and Milan. And
Mm.
obviously, I chose Vienna. As soon as I got here, pretty much within the first week, I had made up my mind that this is where I was going to live, and I just made that happen.
Mm.
There was no question for me. This was just a clear choice.
Yeah, I sort of have the same. Well, I was here for a day and I decided this is where I want to live. So,
Oh,
but not in music, and I'm not an artist, so I didn't have that goal in mind. But and how do you want to or how do you see the future now for the Vienna Shakespeare?
well, Vienna Shakespeare is, I'm so excited. Now that everyone is getting vaccinated, and especially in the warmer months where we're outside, like right now, we're starting to get ready to put on public performances. So we offer
Mm.
3 different levels of in depth workshops. And this is going to be the final, the third, which is the public performances after our play exploration. So the 3 levels are general, wide view exploration of Shakespeare across many of his plays. These are where often a lot of people will start with this. They come to the weekly masterclass where they have the opportunity to bring 1, 2, 3, 4 different scenes that interest them. Like one person brought Juliet for the first week, Portia for the second week, Hamlet for the third week, and King Lear for the fourth week. She was very ambitious.
Okay.
And with these, we'll be performing many different scenes and taking a look at how do you perform Shakespeare at all? How do you approach them as a work? And then twice a year, we do our single play, full performance intensives, where you're working on script because, as I said, everyone has a full time job, but you learn the entire role. We do the entire play. We focus a lot on body work, staging, not only how to deal with the language and the performance, but also how to deal with a stage. And now, starting as of January, that's going to be followed up with a live performance.
Oh,
Where
that's
after
great.
that workshop, those who feel comfortable, those who have time, get memorized and we perform it. So
That
that's
would
my
be
plan
great.
for the
Yeah.
future.
Mm. And where will this happen? Where will these performances take place?
We work so far in 3 different venues. Of course,
Yeah.
we were founded during the lockdown pandemic, so everything has been shifting to which locations were
Mm.
safe. Now we're going to be more stable as
Mm.
things are, knock on wood, coming
Yeah.
a little safer. In the warm months, they happen in the first district in the park, in Schiller Park, which is
Ah, okay.
gorgeous and
Mm.
sunny and lovely and shady and everything that a park should be. In
Yeah.
the colder months, we work on the big stage at the Musikquartier. They have 2 locations. We use both of them. One of them is in the 4th district and one of them is in the 6th district, right off of Maria Hilferstrasse. And
Mm.
they have large stages as well as rehearsal rooms, which makes it perfect for us.
Yeah. Well, I've been now this summer for the first time to see an opera in a garden. Um,
Ah,
yeah, I thought it was lovely. I really thought it was lovely, and so relaxed, and everybody was sitting there and in the garden, and I mean, it was basically a sofa that they bought on Wilhaben. That was this the stage, and it was so. I love that, I mean, I love going to the opera or to a theater, and where it's all done in a specific way. But I do think this has such a intimate feel.
it's different.
Yeah, yeah.
I grew up with opera in the park. My grandparents live in St. Louis, and St. Louis has a wonderful outdoor opera tradition.
Mm.
So, again, just like I said before, I had a lucky childhood. My grandparents took me to all of the outdoor operas every summer. That's an
Mm.
expectation that I have. So
Mm.
it was the first thing I thought of. If we're going to do performances, let's take them to a park. Everyone can bring a bottle of something, everyone can spread out a blanket.
Yeah.
Plus, I get to teach how to project when you're outside. I'm very fond of that. If anyone's watching this who knows me, there is this special thing that I do in order to, let's say, demonstrate for the students what I mean when I say projecting outside. They call it my whale call. It's this enormously loud siren that I make just to show how far away people can hear you if you do it right. So, anyone watching this who knows me, that's for you.
Oh, you know what? You can do a one-woman show, I tell you. Just let me know, I'm there.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
This is
That's what's next for Vienna Shakespeare.
yeah. This is your energy is just amazing, and I love what you do, really, and all these different things, and very multi-talented you are.
Gosh,
Yeah,
thank you.
so yeah, and I can be very grateful that we have you here.
Oh,
So. But I want to ask you something now on a lighter note. What do you do before a performance? Do you have a little ritual, or
yes.
you have?
Ooh, yes. Um, since I have the tendency to ramp myself
Mhm.
up, my ritual is more about keeping myself grounded.
Mhm.
So, especially, in the morning before it's time to go to the theater, but you're still nervous, I force myself to be totally normal. I have my same breakfast, I play my same cell phone games, and then when it's time to get there, I waltz to the Sleeping Beauty song, the I know you. I just
Oh,
waltz.
oh, I see.
It
Yeah.
keeps me in my rhythm. It keeps me feeling the ground. It
Mhm.
keeps me breathing. So I just kind of close my eyes, look like a weirdo, and do my little waltz.
Oh, okay.
I've
So
been
when
doing it for 15 years, so it's very
really,
comforting for me
why that song specifically?
because it's my childhood. And
Oh,
I
okay.
that also helps me ground mentally, not just physically, but
Mm.
mentally.
Mm. So anybody who sees you waltzing through the streets of Vienna knows you're on your way to a performance. Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow, that's great. I
Yeah,
will watch out for that then.
that's my little ritual.
And then after performance, what do you do? How do you wind
Celebrate.
down? What?
I celebrate.
Oh, okay.
I'm usually very happy after a performance.
Mm. So
Yeah.
that's enjoying the high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm quite social. So
Mm.
usually afterwards it's me and the others, we just jump up and down and yay, and
Mm.
we go off and have some fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's quite the what I hear from everybody is that feeling of celebrating afterwards. So that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
You've done something special.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But this, thank you so much for your time and for explaining this to me. And this is so, I mean, I'm not even in the theater world, but it sounds amazing. I mean, I would just imagine how wonderful that would be to have that, you know, that additional experience. And of course it will help. I can see how it can help with other things, other aspects of a career as well as an artist. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
really does.
Mm.
This has been
So
really
um but keep me updated,
Oh, I
please,
shall.
when you, yeah, when you do your you know, when you do those performances and so on, so we can speak about that again, because that would be lovely to see this process that you can see happening, where, you know, you do the workshops and then the performances. So it would really be lovely to speak to you again about that. I love your project. I'm going to follow what you do. I'm going to stalk you on Instagram.
I'll keep on posting on that Vienna Shakespeare Instagram. I've updated my website to be really pretty. And if I'm brave enough, I'm going to start a TikTok. I
Do
have to
it.
get brave. I have to
Oh,
get brave, but I want a Vienna Shakespeare TikTok.
yes, please do
Ooh,
it. And please let me know, because I'm going to
yeah.
follow that one for sure.
Ooh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Please, the pressure is on you now. I want to see it, please.
Oh, now I've promised. I have to do it. I have to
You
do
have
it.
to, you have to do it now. And let me know about that one woman show you that you'll put on in the
Oh,
future. I will be
absolutely.
there. Yeah. Good.
Absolutely. Brilliant.
Okay.
I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Okay. Bye. Bye.
Bye.